Good morning, Brosefs and Brosefinas. We are Coffee and Tequila. Morning show on Mondays and a late show on Fridays. I'm Alastair.
You just like go wherever you want with it, whatever we do.
You know, I go however I want to feel.
I like that. I like the spontaneity.
Yeah.
It makes me feel, it's a little titillating, sexy. My name is Zach.
My name is Alastair.
This is Alastair, and we are in a bromance, okay? A brarage. We are braried.
We're in a...
I don't have puns for bros. Bros.
He's my bro friend.
A bromance, a bro's not at home. This is what this podcast is. Bro versus bro. Yeah, we are... This is just a mess.
Well,
right?
actually, so today...
Well, this
I
episode
just
is
wanna-
kindly being sponsored by Helix, by Coffee and Tequila. This episode is kindly being sponsored by Helix Sleep, as always, and we will let you know a little bit more about them a little bit later. We are not drinking tonight. I have coffee, so I don't know why we're like slipping and sliding so much. You know the gays, we slip and slide.
Yeah. What?
We got a lot of of concern over our last episode. We did the Hot Ones challenge, and a lot of people were like, "Oh my goodness, I didn't realize that there are people who do not like to watch stuff like that because I guess we were in pain." They're like, "I hate to see you guys in pain," and for those people, y'all are so sweet, and I didn't expect that much care.
You know, I've actually heard horror stories from other people. From other people who've done the Hot Ones challenge, where they had to go back to their house, get into a fetal position, and stay that way for hours.
Ian said that he did it with a group of friends, and that he threw up on like the second or third one, and got so mad that he like left or something like that. Yeah. So if you hear any like crinkling, the dog is like down there going buck wild. Yeah. So apparently it's a thing people do not like to do. They don't like to torture themselves for entertainment. It was an experience. Right afterwards, it probably stayed in my throat for about an hour. It was there for a long time. It was there for a good long time. Like even especially on my lips. Even after it went away from my throat, it was still on my lips.
Yeah, you were feeling it for a while. I think for me, much less so, but I definitely felt it on the other end.
Oh, did you?
Yes,
I
did.
I didn't.
Yes, yes. I felt it on the other end more than I felt it just eating the actual Hot Ones.
There you go, folks. There you go. I didn't feel it on the other end, so I guess it just hit us differently.
But for me, what was surprising is how sweet the Hot Ones challenge is, because I think most of those sauces come out as sweet on your palate first.
Yeah.
And then they give you the heat. And a lot of it, the reason why it's so bad, it isn't that the heat is immediate. It's that the heat slowly intensifies.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing it. You know, the husband versus husband challenges have turned into we kind of started them just to
They're fun
to do easy episodes when we're a little bit too busy to really go in with some research. But they have been fun. And I've been really enjoying doing them. So I think we're gonna continue that series, the husband versus husband series.
Well, I thought it was called the We Go Back to School series.
We're going to call it the husband v. husband series.
Okay, now
we're
going to
switch the name now. We're going to switch the name.
Husbands
Today,
versus husbands at school.
yeah, very true, very true. I don't know. I recommend it for people. It's a fun party thing. Definitely want to get some friends in there to do it. But today's episode is not all about the Hot Ones challenge. It is about bros, and we're gonna go to break real quick. And when we come back, we're gonna talk about the movie, the brand new rom-com, the queer rom-com Bros,
By Billy Eichner.
Yeah. Starring Billy Eichner. And Luke McFarland. And we'll talk about, what we liked, what we didn't like about the movie, and then what, I don't know. It's a hot topic right now, so we're going to talk about the hot topic of it all. We won't even cut away, Our Helix Sleep Mattress. This is the time to talk about our Helix Sleep Mattress, as we always do, because Helix is partnered with us for this episode of Coffee and Tequila. We love working with Helix, and we love our Helix mattresses, don't we, baby?
We do. Actually, I think that might be my only criticism of the movie is that we saw them in bed a lot, but I didn't know if it was a Helix mattress.
Where were the Helix Sleep mattresses? He has a podcast. Why wasn't he talking about the Helix Sleep
exactly.
mattress?
The 11th brick.
Get on it, Billy Eichner. Get on it. Now it's time to tell you all a little bit about our sponsor for today's episode, Helix Sleep. Helix is a premium mattress and a box company that makes beds to fit your unique sleep style. Helix knows that everybody is different and everybody has their own unique needs, and so they've made a sleep quiz that'll match you with your perfect mattress based on your needs. I am an all-over sleeper. Alastair's more of a side sleeper. He likes a firm mattress. I like, more medium. We took the quiz together and we got the Midnight Mattress. And one of the best parts about Helix is that they deliver the mattress right to your door for free. It comes rolled up in a box and is super easy to set up yourself. And if it makes you nervous to buy something online that you haven't tried, Helix has a 100-night sleep trial, so you get more than 3 months to make sure that you absolutely love it. And if you don't, they'll pick it up for you and you'll get a full refund. Well, if you're somebody you know is in the market for a new mattress, you think that Helix sounds right for you, you can go to helixsleep.com/tequila, where you can get up to $200 off of your mattress and
2 free pillows.
There you go, 2 pillows for 2 bros.
Oh.
Yeah. So
2 brolos.
This movie, you were very excited to see this movie. I have been in a spooky season mood for the past 6 months. So
I was extremely excited to see this movie.
Yeah.
And honestly, we go to the movies a lot. And the trailers really just came out in the movies, at least the movie theater that we go to, for this movie.
Yeah.
And so I remember last weekend we were watching, what were we watching? Oh, they did a movie party for The Mummy. And
did they play Bros?
Yes, and they played they played the Bros trailer, and I remember turning to our friend Sage, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, we should see it next week." And I was like, "Yeah, let's go watch it." Yeah. Plus, I was excited about it, but also when all of us went to go see it, we went to the bar outside of the movie for a bit, and both of y'all asked me, "What movie are we seeing?"
I forgot what movie we were seeing a couple different times, right? Like it wasn't like sticking with me, and then we got in there, and they had. There's some crazy shit playing. They had Patrick. So we went to the Alamo Drafthouse, and usually before, if you haven't been to the Alamo Drafthouse before the movie, they'll play like, I don't know, related content. Like that's like vintage interviews or vintage music videos or vintage clips from movies. And they played like Patrick Swayze's music video from Dirty Dancing. I guess he had a song for it.
I know why, because Billy Eichner sung it during the
Connections.
That's
and
why.
They played a lot of Billy on the Street, which was really funny.
Where he's kind of advertising his movie, and it's really, really funny.
It was funny. It was very funny. So this our theater though wasn't very packed. I was expecting it to be a little bit more packed. I have to be honest.
So the 6:30 had more people. The 9:40 didn't.
It was a Saturday, though.
I think there was a gaggle of gays that went to the 6:30 and then went out to the bars.
Is that who you think what came out afterwards?
Yeah, I think it was a gaggle of gays.
A group of dudes, and they were all together. They all had shorts on, and I said, "Those are gays." And you said, "No, they're not."
Well, I walked past them again, and I reevaluated.
You shamed me.
Because they were all talking about going to the bar after the movie. So I think they just made a night of it. Like, oh, let's go see the movie, and let's go out to the bars.
Well, that's nice. Maybe we should have been in that theater. The theater we went to see it in, I noticed there was a good amount of teenage girls. There must have been like 10 people.
I think there was more women than there were men.
There were us 3. There was a guy next to us, an older gentleman next to us who must have been like, I don't know, 50s, 60s, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
That was really fun. He just came on his own just to support the movie, you know. He sat like a seat over from me, and so it was us 3, him. I know there were 2 girls that came in. There was a straight couple in there. I thought they were. They looked like a straight couple.
They could have been, yeah.
They're talking like man and wife. And then 2 more teenage girls, I think, were behind us. So, yeah, it was like 10 people because we got there like real early. So I counted everybody who came in.
But what I did like, even though it wasn't a packed theater, is that at funny moments, either I was laughing too loud to hear anybody else.
It was.
Everybody was laughing.
Yeah,
I thought.
absolutely.
So, I really enjoyed it, and I've been really looking forward to this movie. Mostly because I really do love rom-coms, and I think rom-coms
he's a big rom-com person.
Have kind of died away when it comes to the movie theater platform. I think Sandra Bullock, kind of brought the fire with, what is it called? The Lost Island. I loved that movie, and it was... I think especially as queer people will have been watching like straight cinema all this time, and we've been watching straight rom-coms and loving straight rom-coms all this time.
Yeah,
and it's just so nice to have one that's about us.
Yeah, it is us, and this was like the kind of big draw. I feel like the trailer came out like a year ago. Maybe it was just earlier this year, but this year has seemed like 2 years. I don't know. Past couple of years have seemed like real long anyway. So it probably just came out this year, but. I don't know. When I heard about it, I think the whole premise of it was like really intriguing. You know, it's not reinventing the wheel. You know, it's not trying to like really make a new genre of rom-com or a new subgenre of rom-com. It is just trying to be a rom-com featuring two men falling in love.
That takes place in a different culture.
It does take place in a different culture. It's our culture, I guess. It would be the culture that we belong to. And in that way, I feel like it was successful. Let's talk about the movie before we kind of talk about reactions and stuff like that. Because I mean, the reactions from people, it didn't do all that great in the theater opening weekend, and there's a lot of talk about it right now. No, what did you think of the movie though? Without critics, without like any of the talk that's been going on the internet, like what did you take from this movie? What did you love about this movie? What did you hate about it? Everything.
Well, I think it's at this point I think it's my favorite rom-com.
Yeah,
I love that
really?
It was yes
Favorite rom-com.
yes, and so at this point it's my favorite rom-com. I really enjoyed it. I thought all the jokes really hit. I thought that the writing was superb. I thought the acting was good. I thought that it was just a wonderful hour and 55 minutes. And I love that it was both a rom-com, but it also didn't take itself so seriously. Like they even said from the beginning, you know, some people don't get when things are, what was it? Not stereotypical. Satire.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of satire throughout the movie. Obviously, there's some spoiler alerts here. But when they talked about Queer Eye, when they talked about Schitt's Creek,
I thought that was so funny when they brought up Schitt's Creek.
yeah, or the banter between the LGBTQ plus people, and just the way that, you know, stereotypically gay guys get together, and I've been on that side of the metaphorical die in terms of how gay guys relate to each other like that, and for me, like I definitely connected to that in a lot of ways. Whereas, like I feel like where we're at, even though I feel like Bobby and
I'm gonna mess up that. Billy Eichner plays Bobby and Luke McFarlane plays Aaron.
So
I cannot call them Luke and Billy.
Yeah, even though Bobby and Aaron are at different places in their life than I am right now.
Yeah,
and I think that my phase, a lot of the story centers around the fact that they've kind of found. Before they found each other, they kind of found some solace in being, you know, solo. And now it's weird because they're having some sort of attraction to each other. And they don't know how to be in a relationship after having been alone and just hooking up and satisfying their own emotional needs separately for all this time. And I don't know. I really enjoyed it. And even for me, like our relationship, I was never looking for somebody until I found you, and I was like,
so
that was a person I liked.
Well, that's a question I have for you. Then, were you like, I find it so wild that you said like that's your favorite rom-com now, though, because I wouldn't put it as my favorite rom-com. I don't think. I think my favorite rom-com. I'm not a big rom-com person anyway. Like I really rom-com is a hard sell on me. I'm like more like I feel like rom-com to you is like horror to me.
No,
what would you say? Like sci-fi,
no.
fantasy.
I'd say action.
So who the hell are you? Who are you? Action.
The thing is you're a truly devout horror movie enthusiast, which I love about you.
Yeah.
But I like to stick my hands into all genres.
A little bit of everything.
I'm a pan genre.
You're polyamorous, you know. You get around.
No, it's not polyamorous. It's pan genre.
You're in an open relationship.
Oh my gosh! Speaking of something else, I loved their Hallmark little.
We're getting like way.
Things. Obviously, yeah.
I was gonna ask you though. Okay, so you're like kind of relating our story to it. I have talked to like other gay guys who just saw it this weekend as well. Especially like one of them was Ian, and Ian saw a lot of himself in the Billy Eichner character and Bobby, and his whole story, and a couple other guys that I know saw themselves in like Aaron saw themselves in Aaron, and I feel like this is a movie where a lot of people are seeing themselves in these characters. I have to say, I didn't really relate it like story wise to this movie because we got married real young. I think I was what? How old was I? 22, 23?
You were 22 when we got married.
When we got married, and yeah, and the movie is about Billy Eichner as Bobby, a 40-year-old single man, you know, who has a podcast and is like, you know, running an LGBT or, you know, on the board of an LGBT
Q plus museum
center.
That's gonna
yeah.
launch. Yeah.
And so like from that, it's even Aaron's story, I guess, you know, he's also single and, you know, very much involved in the hookup culture of the gay community, and I just those stories never really like aligned with me. I was never in all of that, you know. I had my college years, I had my fuckboy years, and even then, I was still like I wasn't really all that involved in hookup culture. I did my hooking up, you know, no shame to them, but like the dating pool in Alabama was really really small. I also in college dated a guy for a couple of years, and so like my on and off relationship kind of dictated when I was hooking up and all of that. And then I met you my last year in college. We were married a year later, so I don't really relate to this story.
So you're saying you haven't gotten a chance to have a hoe phase?
I'm like, when do I move to New York City and have a hoe phase and live in a really nice apartment and, you know, hold a wine glass while I'm talking to my significant other and then flip into the Grindr app, you know? When is that for me? When does that happen for me? I'm sitting here with a Buffy the Vampire Slayer cup with an El Paso, Texas.
Stuck with me.
I love being with you, baby. I love being with you. But yeah, I mean, like, did you see what parts did you sort of relate to?
I did. I related to. So at first, like, I saw the two guys, and I immediately, like, I thought they had such chemistry. I thought it clicked. I was like, yes, I definitely stand them. And I related to like just the casualness of it all.
Yeah.
And I liked that they were very blunt and up forward about what they wanted, what they didn't want, and I don't know. I liked all the ups and downs. I liked them going on vacation. I liked all of the. I don't know. It was a ride for me.
You know, it felt like Sex and the City for me when they were going through the seasons and stuff like that. You know how this first Sex and the City movie, they go through like a whole year. You know, they go through Valentine's Day, Christmas, all of that, and they kind of do that here. Not entirely. I do know they go from summer to Christmas at least, right? And when do we end? Is it right after Christmas or is it during?
I think it's maybe springtime / early summer.
So we're doing it like over a good chunk of time.
Since you brought that up, just caveat to anybody who decides to watch the Sex and the City movies: they are not good unless you've watched the show.
They are good.
You will fall asleep.
No.
But if you watch the show, definitely a treat.
Don't listen to you. All of it is fantastic. But you know what I really enjoyed about this show or about this movie though was that I don't know. I feel like, you know, this is definitely a Billy Eichner movie, you know, like it is made by Billy Eichner, starring Billy Eichner. Billy Eichner gets to sing in it. He gets to have the hot love interest, you know, it is the Billy Eichner show, but
produced by Jude Law.
Judd
Apatow, Jude Law. Often get them confused.
You know, the Judd Apatow nanny scandal. We all remember it. No, it even though it like does focus on Bobby, the character of Bobby, it does. What?
I said he did have a nanny. Oh, okay.
Judd Apatow.
No, Jude Law.
Jude Law. I feel like even though the movie was focused on Billy Eichner's character of Bobby, that it did kind of. We got a bunch of different perspectives in this movie. You know, it is not a movie that is equally about Aaron and Bobby at the same time. You know, it definitely like focuses on Bobby. It's maybe I don't know what the split would be. Maybe like
I'd say like a 60-40, 70-30 split.
I could buy that. Yeah, some sort of split like that. But we do get like little moments where we get Aaron's perspective of things and how like Bobby was a dick in this situation or like how Aaron was a dick in this situation. You know, we get those. We also get different perspectives from our side characters as well. This is a movie that is very much like talking about this community, and I know a lot of people don't like to call it a community. I used to say that too, where it's like, well, we're not really a community. This isn't a community, you know? And I think that is like to everybody's preference, you know.
Yeah.
It's just kind of easier to like just blanket statement call it a community. But this is a movie that really like shows a lot of what does happen in the community. You know, hookup culture is a big thing in the gay community, and we get a lot of hookup culture commentary in this movie.
Never once do I think that it talks down on hookup culture or like it's a bad thing. It doesn't talk down. It really doesn't talk down on any way of life. You know, he's taking steroids. There's no conversation that makes it a bad thing to take steroids. There's no conversation that makes it a bad thing to have hookup culture. The real conversation that Billy Eichner's character Bobby was having was not to have a heteronormative, like what does love look like for a queer couple?
Yeah.
You know, without subscribing to the heteronormative, get married, have 2.5 kids, have the white picket fence. What does that look like? And it's kind of answering that question because a lot of gay movies that have been made for the straight eye, queer eye for the straight eye, have been kind of putting gay people in heteronormative positions, but that doesn't mean that gay people don't do the same thing.
Society knows how to not do that. I don't think society knows how to not be heteronormative.
But this is exploring that.
But I do think the movie does. I mean, maybe called out is not the right word here, but it is a movie that is definitely highlighting in a big yellow highlighter all of these different subcultures of this culture, and what's going on in this culture, and that, by this point, Bobby is a 40-year-old man who has experienced a lot of this, has experienced the hookup culture, has experienced all of the dude bros who, are in the club with their shirts off, and, the twinks and the bears and, all of these different subcultures. And it seems like he has the life experience with that, whereas it's not something I really relate to because I don't have the life experience with that.
Which is fair.
But I still am in this community too, and I know what these things are as well. So when they're talking about this, when they're showing this, I'm like, oh, well, I am familiar with that. I understand that. That feels like something for me because, this is a community I am in. So
yeah. But you're also right that they do have some subtle commentary on stuff.
Well, they have commentary on everything, of course.
Because they had
movie does.
Subtle commentary on, I feel like maybe the looks, physique culture.
So that was I want to talk about because you brought up there's a scene where Bobby walks in on Aaron, and Aaron. So if you haven't seen the movie already, Bobby is like I said, a 40-year-old podcast host who's it's Billy Eichner, it is just Billy Eichner. And then Luke McFarlane, he used to be on Brothers and Sisters, and I used to have a big crush on him back in the day when he was on Brothers and Sisters. And
he's sounds kind of incest.
He's like the mask bro with the big, the nice muscles, really big muscles. And the first time we see him, he's at a club with his shirt off, he wears his baseball cap backwards. And it seems like Aaron, just hooks up with the other. I don't know. The first night we meet him, he's supposed to be hooking up with a baseball player and his boyfriend, who are jacked, studs, and other mask bros. So mask for mask bro, So there's one scene where they're kind of dating at this point. They're in Provincetown, and Bobby walks in on Aaron in the bathroom, and he's injecting himself with testosterone, and he comments on that, and he's like, "Why are you doing that? You don't need to be doing that." But he says, "You didn't really have a problem, or you're the one doting all over my body and making such a big deal about how great my body looks, And Billy Eichner kind of gives a look, kind of understands what he's saying,
You're right.
understands the hypocrisy of that part, but then we don't really, or at least from what I remember, we don't really revisit that. That's kind of dead there and doesn't really
because I don't think it needs to be revisited.
Do you not? I thought that was such a great point that actually should have been revisited.
No, because I think, in my opinion, hey, if you like how somebody looks, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't think it's me saying, hey, I like how you look, or oh, I can't believe you're going to the gym. Well, you like how I look when I go to the gym. Oh, okay. That's not a problem, right? But when I'm talking about talking about gay guys and physique in it, and we've talked a lot about on our podcast about being in shape or out of shape or how we feel,
yeah,
especially in contrast with the gay community, and the gay community is very, I wouldn't even say fitness forward, I'd say physique forward, and that's a 40-year-old man who has to do steroids to do that. But they also talked about when they went to the billionaire's house, and he was like, y'all are too old to be in the pool. Made me think, oh my gosh, I guess in the gay community they really would be considered older men, whereas I even see right now, especially younger queer men on TikTok, just be super critical of people just 27 years old. Oh my gosh, they're so old. And
well, there is that joke that when you hit, I don't know, when you hit anything above 23 or 24 in the gay community, you're basically old, right?
Yeah.
That's a running joke within.
You turn to daddy.
Yeah. So weird. No, but I do think that it should have been revisited. This is the thing is that was a moment where we get a lot of, we get a lot of, okay, well, Aaron was an asshole to Bobby, right? Aaron was an asshole to Bobby. Aaron asked Bobby to like dull his shine and to not be who he really is, and you don't do that. You let especially if you're with somebody and you love them, you let them be who they are. That's a big point, and we all know that, and that is something that's very big in this movie. But we don't have a whole lot of Bobby saying, where was the part where Bobby was telling Aaron, oh, yeah, you have a nice body, but what I really love is you. Like, I love everything about you. I love your mind. I love, how sweet you are. I love how genuine you are. I don't remember a scene like that. There's a lot of like, oh, chase your dreams. You want to be a chocolatier. Go be a chocolatier. Go design chocolates. But where was like Bobby telling Aaron, oh, I love you for you, not because of your body. I love everything about you. It's not that I love your body. It's that I love you.
I think if you watch throughout the film,
was it there?
No, it wasn't like there, but yeah. I thought it was. For me, it didn't feel lacking, but maybe that's just how I viewed
just
the film.
I'm like thinking of like right this second.
So. No, but overall, like I loved the film.
Yeah,
I actually. Would you want to watch it again?
I would. I want to support it.
Yeah.
I have to say, a 2-hour rom-com for me, straight or gay, is a lot. So
we will be supporting it again, just like we supported Hereditary for 4 times.
We saw Hereditary twice.
Yes,
we saw it in Colorado,
times 2.
and then we saw it with a couple friends. That's the only times we watched it.
We watched it like 4 times. I had to see it. It was trauma. Hereditary is a good movie that should only be seen once.
I do think like Luke McFarlane is just obviously he's gorgeous, right? Obviously he's like very much eye candy in this movie.
Every time you say that,
he just has like a sweetness about him that he's just like so lovable and so likable in this movie. And what?
Nothing.
He's like the golden retriever boyfriend, You're my golden retriever boyfriend.
Don't even. I don't like comparisons.
I love it, baby. I love you.
I don't like
it. It's cute. You have like that sweetness and that charm about you as well. Even without like the mask for mask thing, sort of element of Aaron. He's just sweet. He comes off as really sweet and comes off as really genuine, but he also is very clearly not interested in having a relationship, right? Like he's like, I don't know, relationship doesn't really sound like something that's for me right now. He has a guy that he went to high school with that was on the hockey team that he always, used to fantasize about and had a crush on, and then that guy comes out, and so he's like, I really.
So then they have a threesome.
I really want to hook up with that guy. Yeah, he's like, I really want to hook up with that guy. And he goes up to Bobby and he's like, hey, what are we, and what are our rules here? I thought that was a really interesting part too. Is like how they discuss rules, because again, we are not in a heteronormative like situation here. This movie is not a heteronormative movie, and as gay people, straight people can do this too. It's free for y'all too.
It's just more taboo.
For gay people, we have more honest and open conversations about, look, what are our rules of our relationship? Are we open? Are we closed? Are we sleeping with other people together? Are we completely monogamous? Like,
are we cracking the door open?
But I feel like gay people, queer people, I'm going to say gay people a lot, but this applies to queer people, is like we more freely have those conversations, and I really appreciated that they were going into that in this movie, and they did that quite often.
Where they're like, okay, let's throw it wide open, and they're like, let's adjust from here.
Yeah, and then Bobby sees Aaron like getting a little too like turned on by this guy, this ex-hockey player, and he's like, after the hookup, he's like, well, how about we just like don't? We just don't do that. Let's just enjoy each other for right now. And again, that's just like a healthy sort of conversation to have. And then what's another conversation? I don't know. Like Bobby is also a character who is who very much is very insecure. Right, he's insecure within himself, and so he thinks that Aaron is just looking at every single mascot guy that there is out there, and that he just wants a mask guy, and that he's not able to be the mask guy that Aaron wants, and so it like eats at him throughout the movie. That he's like, I'm not the mask guy Aaron wants. Obviously, Aaron's gonna go out and cheat. He wants this guy, he wants that guy, and I think that was really important to kind of show too.
Explore, yeah.
Is that the sort of insecurity?
Well, it was nice because he had the insecurity, and then he hooked up with somebody, and then he changed his voice, and they're like, Why'd your voice change? And he's like, well, you wouldn't have had sex with me if my voice was this. And he was like, yes, I would have. Now it's just weird.
He kept like going in and out of it. And he was like, are you serious? Are you going to kill me? It's just, there was a lot to talk about it here. I almost like, I always say this for all movies anyway, that I usually like want them to be a show. I'm like, this would have been so fun to explore.
I don't think it would have been a good show.
I didn't like Looking. I thought Looking was so dull. And maybe I need to rewatch it as like somebody who's a little bit older now, right? Because it came out when I feel like it came out when I was a teenager or like early adult. Maybe I need to rewatch it, but I thought it was so dull and like I related to nothing in it. I don't feel like they talked about a whole lot in it. This feels like this could have been like 6 episodes, with a lot to talk about.
I like completely disagree with you. I think that we needed a rom-com, and it was rom-com.
Oh, absolutely.
All the highs and lows.
I'm not saying the way they went about it was wrong. I'm just saying like I think there was a lot here to be explored, and that they explored it all in like a 2-hour movie, and some things you could expand upon. That just could be done.
Yeah, you could have Bros too.
Yeah. I also really liked that they were talking a lot about judgment within the queer community, like Billy Eichner's character Bobby does a lot of judging. It is a lot of judging in this movie. He like judges a lot of different like facets of the community, especially like the dude bros, like Aaron. He does a lot of judging based off that, but also we're coming from a place of, well, the dude bros also judge people like Bobby and judge, the heavier guys, the guys who are a little bit bigger, or the guys who are a little bit more femme, or, we do get all of the judgy here. We even get like in a more explicit way when they're all sitting around the boardroom table, and we got the bi guy, we got the gay guy, we got the trans woman, we've got like everybody from this community, and they're all judging each other and like getting mad at each other, but they're still in this community, and that was a more explicit way.
Yeah, but none of it's malicious. It's not poking fun at.
Yeah,
it's poking fun at in a good natured way.
But that's what we do in this community: is we judge the freak out of each other, like
but that's malicious. But in the movie they took that and they made it like a joke.
Well, they take everything and make it kind of a joke. That's a comedy. It's rom-com. That's what you do, but that is what happens within this community, is that there's a lot of judgment.
Honestly, I really enjoyed the movie in all of its facets, and so far it's received an A cinema score, and it's around 90-something% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, well, critically, it's doing really, really well, right? Like even Rolling Stone kind of like, what do you mean?
Well, it was also review bombed, but on IMDb before it came out.
But shit like that happens.
For people
shit like that happens. I think like She-Hulk that happened, or like Captain Marvel that happened. Like that.
Anything that's queer, race related, or promotes women.
That happens a lot, but there's like actual people who went and saw the movie. A lot of people really like it.
Oh yeah.
And I think over majority, I would say, of people really liked it. But still. So Smile also came out this weekend, and it made like $19 million in the first weekend. I think that was the number 1 movie, and this movie, Bros, is number 4 at
$4.8 million.
$4.9 million.
Yeah.
And so I think the budget was around $22 million, and some people are saying that it's probably going to be a flop, or it's probably not going to make its money back, or I don't know, for whatever reason, people just did not show up for this movie this weekend. Again, it's the first weekend, so there's still time for people to show up and for it to start spreading word of mouth. But, also, we want to say community, the word community. Well, the community is also not a monolith, so not everybody enjoyed this movie. The people who did go see it also, I've seen criticisms for this movie. I've seen, we loved the movie, but not everybody loved the movie.
Well, it's kind of when Love, Simon came out, and then a lot of people didn't want to go see it, or the people who did see it thought it wasn't for the gays, it was for the straights. I think I can talk somewhat about the gay community. So recently,
I think I could talk about the gay community. I think I'm allowed. I don't have like a little pass about it.
Recently, the new reboot of Queer as Folk came out, and it was amazing. It took place in New Orleans. It had a much more diverse cast of characters, had amazing storylines, amazing acting, amazing everything. It was great. It referenced Buffy at least 3 times, and it was just canceled recently for lack of people watching it, basically.
Viewership.
And I think that whenever, especially when I go on Twitter and I see gay content, gay media, there's always gay people who really shit on it.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're not all the way together as a community to support ourselves. And when we don't support ourselves, like when we don't support ourselves for also the what was that vampire show on Netflix?
Oh, First Kill.
First Kill
was shitty though. Okay.
Yes,
Sorry,
yes.
we're gonna cover us.
Yes, but it
Egg my
actually,
house.
I don't think it was. I think that one weird thing where they just threw the wig, that was really weird. But the thing is, I think that we need to be supporting queer content overall if we want other kinds of queer content.
Well, yes, and that's the thing with anything, right? Is like money talks. If this makes money, they're gonna make more of this,
Yes.
right? And I feel like Love, Simon was kind of successful. That's successful enough that they turned it into a Hulu show. You know, so like if this movie makes money, they will make more movies. They could even make a sequel to this movie, right?
Yes.
But like, okay, so I kind of started like a little list because I've been really thinking about this all day. It's like, why aren't people showing up? You know, number one, I think it's very much a movie that's for a specific audience, right? It's very, it is for this culture. It is about, or not for this culture, but it is about this culture, you know? And not everybody has any understanding about this culture, you know? Even us, like we were just kind of talking about, our life experience does not line, or myself, more so, does not line up with specific elements of this culture. And even though I can go and enjoy it and I understand some things, do straight people understand this culture? Do other people who are not, do people within the gay community who go to see this movie but are not really involved in the gay community, do they understand what's going on? Do they understand any of this? You know, if they're not sitting on Twitter or like understanding any of the lingo, I don't know. It is just the audience feels very specific. You know, it's targeted towards this specific audience.
Yep.
And that might just not be for everybody.
But you can see Pretty Woman and not have been uber rich
Well, it's
or
very
have
true.
been a
No,
prostitute
very
and
true.
still love it.
Very true.
So,
Very true.
but I also agree with you where like it definitely seems like it has more of a narrow,
Yeah.
or at least just queer scope to it, which could make people feel like it's not a movie for them.
So another one, not all queer people feel comfortable going to the theater to see this movie, right? So I will admittedly myself, I should have been taking my like straight friends to see it, but when you brought up, you said, "Oh, well, let's ask X, Y, and Z to go with us," and I was like, I really don't want to," and it just kind of like slipped out. I didn't really like mean to be that harsh about it, but I was like, "No, I don't want to. I'd rather it just be us and our friends' age." And I think that was just like, it just came out of me subconsciously because, I don't know, you know, sometimes you get a little bit tense when you're sitting around people that, you know, are like, are
Possibly
these people
being
going to understand?
judgmental.
I get nervous about people being judgmental, right? It's like, I get nervous sitting in a movie theater and these straight people who are with us, are they gonna like this, or are they gonna like scoff, or are they gonna, you know, and maybe those aren't people I should be hanging out with if they were to scoff, you know, if they were to like shit on this movie for the gay content. Like, they don't have to like the movie, but like if they're shitting on it for the gay content, maybe those aren't people I need to hang out with. But it's still within me that I'm like nervous and I'm like, So I was kind of glad they didn't go, because when we went, I was like laughing and I was loud, and you know, it was fun to be there, and other people in there were laughing, and so it didn't feel like an uncomfortable environment. It felt like the people who were in that theater wanted to be in that theater with us, right? Like nobody was making them go see that movie. Nobody was dragging them to go see that movie
Without having it in the back of your head. Are they?
Yeah.
How are they reacting to it right now?
Yeah.
And then, which actually brings me to something else. Billy Eichner said in one of his interviews. He said he really wanted the moment of like queer people being in a queer cinema, surrounded by other queer people, enjoying a moment that's their singular.
Well, that
you know,
was
like,
Love, Simon for us. That at the height, I feel like, because I feel like
Yeah.
Love, Simon, our theater was packed, man.
Yeah.
We were surrounded by queer people, and it was really nice to see. And when we left the theater, we saw all kinds of people. You know, people who were expressing their queerness like differently, and like just through outward expression, you can like just visibly see it. And I feel like I was kind of expecting that for this movie, and I didn't see that. But also, like, me aside, take, you know, queer people in certain parts of the country who you know, I don't know, freaking know. Where's Alabama? You know, I lived in Alabama. Queer people in Alabama, in a smaller town, they go to the theater to see Bros. Are they feeling comfortable enough to go to the theater, go up to the ticket counter and say, "Hey, can I get a ticket for Bros?" You know, the poster is two guys holding their hands on each other's butts, right? Like, is that queer kid gonna feel comfortable going to do that, or are they gonna be fearing some sort of backlash, some sort of like judgment from the ticket counter, or you know, people seeing them come out of there, or maybe their friends from school are at the same theater and they see, you know, them coming out of that movie or going into that movie? Like, there is a sort of fear in that,
which is funny because we saw that in the movie too. Remember when they came out of the gay movie, and then he saw his buddy, and he was like, "Oh
that's
yeah,
exactly
we
what
just
I'm
saw
talking
this thing."
about
Yeah.
too. Is like sometimes there is an uncomfortability for queer people who are not in an environment where they're surrounded by queer people. You know,
Yeah.
I think sometimes queer people forget that they're all like, "Well, you have to be brave. You just have to like, you know, just do it. Fuck everybody else. Fuck it." And, you know, people are sometimes in environments where they cannot do that, right? They maybe just don't feel like being harassed at that moment. And so they're like, I'm not going to go see the movie tonight. I'm just not going to
I'll wait for streaming.
I'll just wait for streaming, right? And also, you know, maybe similar type of queer people, maybe a queer person who's a little bit lonelier doesn't want to go to the movies by themselves. I know tons of people who don't want to go to the movies by themselves, right? Until I met you, I never went to the movies by myself. I would have never gone to the movies by
I
myself.
love going to movies by myself. I mean, I loved going to the movies by
That's
myself.
fine. You know what? That is fine. I'll go see all my damn horror movies, and you can go see the rom-coms, and we will meet afterwards, okay? No, but like people who are maybe like a little bit lonelier, or just don't have other queer people to go see these movies with, or like straight people who are willing to go see these movies with, and they're like, well, who the hell do I go see this movie with? Well, I guess I'm not going to the movie, you know?
Well, to those people, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I don't want to go to the movies alone, just sit in the back. That's what I do.
It is a really great experience.
Yeah.
Like this is kind of how I changed my thinking on it. Is like the lights go off, right? The lights go off. Nobody's like staring at you. I promise you, nobody's staring at you. Go see a movie by yourself.
And it's funny, you know. Go take yourself on a date.
There you go.
You know,
there you go.
To
Sneak
go
some candy in.
to go see this. It's fun.
Another one that I have. Straight folks feeling uncomfortable with this kind of movie.
I think we kind of hit up on that a little bit, right? With our fear of them feeling uncomfortable and then us feeling judged by that.
So we touched on it. So in the marketing for this movie, right? Let's just talk about straight people in general, you know? This movie does have a few jokes where they do kind of talk about straight people, right? And it's like, they're jokes. We understand they're jokes. We make jokes about gay people, straight people. Like, we just make those jokes. It's funny. Is a straight person watching the Bros trailer and seeing them say, oh, well, straights had a good run, are they going to be like, look, it's just a movie.
We're being attacked.
It's just a movie attacking straight people, right? Well, you know, they're probably not going to go see that movie then, right? And it's and so it's that. There are also straight people who are like super right wing who just don't. They're gonna like, this is some woke bullshit. Any movie that comes out, right?
The Woman King.
The Woman King. People were like, woke BS. You know, Captain Marvel, woke BS. Bros, woke BS. There are people who are just like immediately going to say woke BS.
But you know what? I am waiting for those couple of just like best friends who are going. They have no idea about this movie. They're going to the movies. They're like, oh, it says Bros. This must be like a bromance movie.
You see the poster. I know what kind of movie you're going in to look at. The past couple of years have been really rough as far as like social commentary, right? Political commentary. And a lot of people are going to look at this movie, look at the trailer immediately and be like, it goes along with the woke BS, right? And they're going to be like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear the buzzwords. I don't want to hear people telling me that I'm bad for being straight or that, and this is like what people are going to automatically assume, right?
Yeah.
They just are. And I'm not saying that this movie did all of that because I don't think they did that. I don't think it was like villainizing people. I think it was just, you know, kind of talking and saying things and like having an opinion on something, but I don't think it was villainizing anybody. But are the people who they're making jokes about, are they gonna see it like that
and feel villainized?
They're gonna feel attacked.
Yeah,
they're gonna feel like
or they're gonna want to feel attacked.
They're gonna want to feel attacked. They want to be. They're like want to be.
No,
victims.
no. That makes sense because I think that you brought this point up to me a little earlier, and I was completely against it. But now, nothing about it. If they saw the trailer, which maybe there should have been two trailers, one for the straights, one for the gays, so the straights to go get in there, and then the straights are like, I love this.
I don't think so.
Let's be poly.
I think Yeah, no, I don't think there should have been 2 trailers. I think we get the trailer that we got. This is not a movie
No, I
that
think there
should
should have
have
been
to
2
bend over
trailers.
for straight people or for
Bend
like
over for-
no, yeah, it's bend over. I don't think it's a movie that has to bend over for anybody, but you do also have to take into account the
It's
politics.
just marketing.
Of it all.
Because
Right.
if you just cut some of those jokes out of the marketing and you get in there and you realize this is partially a satire, it's a rom-com, then that's just going to go
Yeah.
through you. Because not only are they making fun of, they're making fun of all of the people at that table. All the people at that table when they're making fun of,
Yeah.
they're people from all different parts of the queer perspective, right? And then they bring up straight people who admittedly aren't at the table, but like,
And they're not
it's also
making
like another
jokes
joke.
about,
Yeah.
right? Like it's comedy. It's comedy. It's freaking comedy, man. And like that's the thing is like I hate this like both sides of the aisle thing because on one side of the aisle, there's been gay jokes for as long as time can tell. And everybody was fine with that, and they're like, "Why don't you? It's a joke. Why don't you just like get over it, right?" But then, like now
it's
on the other
gay.
side, if you're making a straight joke, they're like, "Well, I just am being attacked for being straight. This is like, it's just, if you're straight nowadays, if you're white straight, then you're just the bottom of the totem pole these days. I hear that stuff all the time.
Or like, why he called me sis?
Why he called me sis? I don't want to be called sis.
I'm not a sissy.
But we're in a moment where the past few years there's been a lot of political and social commentary and talking about and just like nonstop, right? And like maybe rightfully so that these are things that need to be talked about, but there are still groups of people who like just are like tired of it. They're tired of hearing the buzzwords. They're tired of hearing like people say the word white cis, and like starting to the lists and the labels and like they don't want to hear that. And so they see a trailer like Bros and they're like, I am not going to see that because that is what that movie is going to be. And I'm not going to go see a movie like that because I don't feel like being talked to. I don't feel like being talked down to. I don't feel like being attacked. And
Which is crazy because if you really turn the perspective on that a little bit, it's more so people saying that if you show these stories that have different people than you are, then that for some reason makes it super difficult for me.
Exactly.
And that's unfair. It's so suddenly when we have people who are different making movies, like you've been making movies, suddenly it's a political issue.
yeah,
Suddenly it's an ideological issue.
they think of it like that, right?
Yeah, it's
true. It is true. And also, and I think it's okay to say this, some people are just really tired and like a little bit exhausted of the social and political commentary. I think that's okay. But
well, then they can get off Twitter and go see Bros.
well, that's what I'm saying is like you're kind of judging a book based on its cover, right? When you don't know that's how the movie's actually going to be, you're just assuming the movie's going to be like that, right? So like, go see the movie. Maybe you'll like it. Maybe you'll enjoy it. Maybe you'll enjoy the jokes. A little bit of homophobia with it, right? Obviously, I have definitely seen the homophobia going around about this movie. Let me see. I think I got I got one. Not interested in watching. What gays do is their business, but I don't want to watch that. There's a lot of that going on right now.
Like, okay, I'm sorry
There's a
that I
lot
watch
of that
straights
going
do
on.
their business.
Exactly. So we do have a lot of that. We're going to have like the straight people who see the poster and see 2 guys, like especially men, right? Like straight men who look at a poster like that and they're like, well, nobody's going to catch me going into a movie with that sort of poster. Or,
Which I
don't
still
wanna
disagree
watch-
with. That's a very straight poster.
Well, it is for this community, right?
Well, no,
No, I don't agree. Though they're not going to go into a movie like that. They're not going to go into a movie like that with the kind of, there's a little bit of like a tinged homophobia there. Another question. Do we have to appeal to the straights to have a successful movie? Realistically.
I think that straight people make up a significant portion of the box office.
Well, of course.
So I don't necessarily think that you have to appeal to the straights, but I do think that there are steps to do that, and I think that this was almost he jumped up, like when you're going up the steps and you're like, I'm going to jump, and he jumped up a couple steps.
Yeah.
And he made the movie he wanted to make. It's amazing. Over 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. But unfortunately, on the box office side of things, which is interesting because during the movie they had that portion where he was talking to an executive who said, "Let's make a gay movie for straight people." You remember?
Yeah, yeah.
Which is what a lot of other gay movies, and maybe if he had made a gay movie for straight people, it would have been more well received. But honestly, I don't think so. I don't think it would have been.
Again, the question, does this movie need to pander to straights in order to be successful? I think one big factor of this movie is that it is produced by Judd Apatow. And that's a really big one. Let's go through some of the movies that Judd Apatow has had a hand in making, right? 40-Year-Old Virgin. Straight guys. Bros. Love the 40-Year-Old Virgin, right? Fun with Dick and Dave. Nobody's talking about that one. Do you remember that one?
It wasn't good.
Like a weird one. Knocked Up. That was a big fucking movie, Don't Mess with the Zohan. Movies like that.
That is such a good movie.
Pineapple Express. This is 40. Trainwreck. Even lately, The King of Staten Island, that Pete Davidson one, which I don't know if many people saw that one, but The Cable Guy, like he's had a hand on a lot of these. This is like a straight get. This is a get. And this movie should have been like another one that like people, they really, I do know in the marketing they pushed his name a lot in like the interviews, and they wanted to make sure that, hey, straight people who liked all of these movies that I did before, I'm doing this movie too, right? But they still didn't show up to see it, So it's a very peculiar question. Why didn't they show up to see it? And I think it goes back, to some of the stuff we talked about a little bit earlier. I'm going to read a couple tweets by Billy Eichner, actually, because he talked about that 5 hours ago. He said, "Last night I snuck in and sat in the back of a sold-out theater playing Bros in L.A. The audience howled with laughter, start to finish, burst into applause at the end, and some were wiping away tears as they walked out. It was truly magical. Really, you did cry, but what don't you cry at, baby? Are you crying now?
I don't.
Oh, my baby.
Stop. I don't cry at stuff.
You threw your hand away from me. No, you don't get me
no,
now.
No,
you don't get me now.
Give me your hand.
No.
Give me.
No.
Let me do it right.
Really, I am very proud of this movie. Rolling Stone has already has Bros on the list of the best comedies of the 21st century. What's also true is that at one point a theater chain called Universal said they were pulling the trailer because of the gay content. Universal convinced them not to. America, fuck yeah, etc., etc. That's just the world we live in, unfortunately. Even with the glowing reviews, great Rotten Tomatoes score, and A Cinema score, straight people, etc., straight people, especially in certain parts of the country, just didn't show up for Bros, and that's disappointing, but it is what it is. Everyone who isn't a homophobic weirdo should go see Bros tonight. You will have a blast, and it is special and uniquely powerful to see this particular story on a big screen, especially for queer folks who don't get this opportunity often. I love this movie so much. Go Bros. Yeah, I mean, Billy Eichner's like clearly upset about it, and rightfully so. He put his blood, sweat, and tears into it, and worked really hard on the movie, and it's got to be disappointing to see it kind of like, and there's a mission for it, It makes it hard when your baby is not doing as well as you want it to, and then backing that up is there's a mission behind it, like to get the gay rom-com out there and to make it successful, and like to have those headlines saying, see, this gay rom-com was successful, right? This gay rom-com made its stamp, and so I understand that he's feeling a little bit hurt, and I hope he's just so proud of this movie that he just kind of like just rides the success of it, rides that he's getting all these glowing reviews and everything he just listed. And at the same time, he was kind of pointing out here, why the movie might not be so great. He said, like, straight people didn't show up, right? We already did a whole conversation about that. Straight people just didn't show up to see this movie for X, Y, and Z reasons. But also, there's a lot of fighting I'm seeing a lot of fighting on Twitter and a lot of arguing. I mean, Twitter's not real life, right? But among people, some of them, even the queer community, right? Queer people saying they didn't like this movie for X, Y, and Z, for the cis white male lead, or for, whatever reasons. Some people saying they did really like it, and that if you didn't go see it on opening weekend, that it's your fault. You're the one to blame for it not doing so well, and you're the reason why we don't have movies like this, right? I think there's just a lot of like, and it's always like that, It's always, infighting between us that starts after things like this. Whenever a queer project comes out, it is queer people who will attack that project more than anybody else, or not more than anybody else. I'm going to back that up. But those are the loudest, right? Because we have to, for some reason, we are like harsher on our own community's projects than like others.
So I actually have something to say about that.
Okay.
I think that whenever you have a smaller community of people, where you have less out there that represents them, it's not going to represent everybody, right? Yeah. So if Bros was just a straight movie, and it would just been a really good straight movie, or if it was bad, it would have been just, it's just a flop. But since it's a gay movie, it has that pressure on it to be good. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, if you don't see yourself represented in it, or you decide to boycott the movie because it doesn't represent a part of you that you feel, or you don't feel like a part of the community was well represented in this, then like this movie is not going to represent everybody.
It just won't.
It won't.
Yeah, and
but,
it can't.
But let's get to a point where we can have a plethora of movie. Let's get to a point where we can have really bad gay movies. Where we can have just really bad gay movies and really good gay movies, and it just not all fall on a couple people's shoulders,
Well, and that's what the thing is like there's so much infighting when, like, let's also realize, I understand that, like, there's usually the drop after your opening weekend. Your opening weekend should be the weekend that you generally, make the most money, and that's going to kind of set the tone for how it's going to go later on down the road, right? Like we hear that from Grace Randolph all the time, how much movies drop per week. But this is the opening weekend, and if you didn't go see this movie the opening weekend for whatever reason, I don't care what the reason is. I don't care what the reason is that's your own damn business.
Fault.
Fault?
Yeah. I thought, are we not? What?
I'm not blaming.
I'm just kidding.
I'm not going there. You didn't have to go see it opening weekend, and it doesn't all fall on your shoulders, okay? I mean, I would say think about the longevity and the after effects from something like this, right? Like, make sure you do support queer projects so that we can have more queer projects. I would support that. But if you didn't get to see it this opening weekend, go see it next weekend. Go see it the weekend after, right? Like, I think support is very important.
Yeah, I'd put my whole faith behind this. Mm-hmm. I definitely 100% recommend this movie.
Yeah.
Here soon, they're probably going to see new posters that say Alastair Penn recommends.
Oh, absolutely.
This movie.
Amateur reviewers.
The best movie of Halloween.
Yeah. My final sort of thought on it is, because I think it's really interesting, the whole conversation about like why it's not doing so well. I think that whole conversation is super interesting. But I think my final thought on it is that I think this is a movie that's going to have a bigger life after its theatrical release. I think it's going to do really well on streaming. Maybe it should have been released on streaming and on. You don't think so? And theatrical?
No, I think that gay movies can be in the movies too.
I agree with you. I'm just talking about the way we are in movies and TV land today. Anyway, I think
because there's no movies that release side by side anymore. Okay. That's not like a thing anymore.
I think this movie is going to have a bigger life after that. I think for whatever reason, if queer people weren't comfortable going to see this movie, they're definitely going to watch it on streaming, right? Like if a queer kid wasn't comfortable going to the theater, and for whatever reason, they'll check it out on streaming. People will watch this on streaming, and I feel like it's going to have more of a life when people are able to like screenshot it and talk about it and share, clips, and like I do have high hopes that it's going to do better than it has done in its theatrical release just on opening weekend.
Something else we didn't consider that I just looked at just real quick before we end is it is rated R.
It is rated
and
R.
Most rom-coms are not rated R.
Well, and I don't think it's a kids movie, and I wouldn't have taken. I wouldn't have taken my parents to this.
No, I wouldn't have either, but but when you do make things rated R, it does cut out like a percentage of the population who can't see it.
It just happens.
And contribute funds to it. Because me as like a 16-year-old, I'd probably want to go see it. I don't know. Not that I should.
I mean, you wouldn't be allowed in the theater. They wouldn't sell it to you.
I actually worked at the theater, so I think it'd be fine.
Do you know how many movies I supported? But I bought the ticket to Beverly Hills, Chihuahua instead. I went to see Paranormal Activity Me and my friend Samantha went to see Paranormal Activity. I bought a ticket to the Cirque du Freak movie for that. So the Cirque du Freak got my money,
Okay.
and I snuck into Paranormal Activity.
Let's not start with this with Cirque du Freak.
This
It'll
movie,
get me emotional.
I think the movie will have like a bigger life after theatrical release. I think when it's streaming, it's gonna have a bigger life. I have hope for that. I have strength for that. Support it if you want more of this. If you want more of the queer content, the queer projects, I think it is something to support. You know.
Yep. Let's do it.
Well, if you enjoyed this episode, brosif. If you enjoy this movie, make sure to this movie, our bro show. If you enjoyed our bro show, make sure you go and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Make sure you comment down below. Why do you think, if you've made it to the end of this by now, why do you think this movie didn't perform so as well as hoped
in the box office
weekend? Yeah. That's my big question for you. Make sure to like, comment down below, and we will. Oh,
we'll see
not
you
on Friday. Next Monday.
Next Monday.
I'm gonna still have a Handmaid's episode with my mom.
We have to fix this.
Friday, I'm gonna spend the whole week working on our set because I really want to get it done by next Monday. So we will see you then. All right.
Adios.
All right. Love you guys. Love you, baby. Love
and
you,
go see
Brandon.
bros.
Go see bros
with your bros.
With your bro.
You're leaving me hanging, babe.
You swatted my hand away. That hurt my heart.
You're leaving me hanging. Wow. So you don't support...
You know what was super bro-y, though, that you used to do?
What?
You still do it. Your secret...
Well, I do it in public because we don't do PDA, so I go... And I go...
People are going to hate that. Canceled. Done.
He did that extra hard.
Oh, my gosh. They did that in the movie, too. Like, Aaron was super obsessed with, like, wrestling in the movie. He just always had to wrestle somebody.
We were dying. We were dying.
Go see Bros. It's worth it. It's worth it. It's a funny movie.
We're gonna see it again. So